Giants started 0-6, have won 5 of their last 6. Michael Cox saw the return for the Giants. Forced out of bounds shy of the 20-yard line. So Eli Manning, originally drafted first overall by the Chargers in 2004, then traded to the Giants, leads the New York offense onto the field to a chorus of boos.
They'll never forget, Darryl.
No.
Not here.
Well, it's tough when you dish your home team and say you don't want to come to San Diego. So
it is Eli's second game in this stadium. His 10th career start came here in San Diego back in 2005. He hands it off to Andre Brown. Takes it out to the 21-yard line. Jared Johnson made the tackle, gain of 4.
And it's going to be interesting to see if they can get this running game going. James Brewer gets the start there at left guard, and since Andre Brown has come back, established some balance, that's part of the reason why they've gotten off to this 5-1 over the last 6 games. And I really think we'll keep our eye on Eli Manning. He's going to get booed incessantly all afternoon long, but this could be the week. This may be the week that he steps out there and has that game that Giant fans have been waiting for.
On 2nd and 6, Manning throws for the first time. The catch is made by Victor Cruz. Sharice Wright wraps him up. Gain of just 2. Setting up 3rd down and 4 for the Giants.
And one of the keys for this San Diego defense is going to be their performance on 1st and 2nd down. And that's been the area where they've gotten themselves into trouble. You get into these 3rd and shorts like the Giants have right now, and they have really struggled in this area.
Play clock at 2. Manning on 3rd down, fires, and the Giants go 3 and out. Brandon Myers, the antenna receiver. Jaleel Adai on the coverage.
Yeah, I think Brandon Myers plenty of distance here to work back to the ball, still be able to make the catch and have the necessary yardage for the 1st down, but he kind of stays firm in his spot, and Jaleel Adai comes through the back and makes the deflection for the incomplete.
Steve Weatherford waiting at his 10-yard line. Keenan Allen, having an outstanding rookie season, is back deep for the Chargers. End over end kick. Allen takes it out of bounds from the 30 out to the 33-yard line. So good starting field position for Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. Rivers was the 4th overall pick in 2004, and then trade between these two franchises. Rivers leads the NFL this season, completing 70% of his pass attempts.
And you mentioned they've lost 4 of their last 5, have been inconsistent throughout the season, but you look at the numbers right there for Phillip Rivers. It's not because of his play at the quarterback position. He's approaching career numbers in certain areas in his first year with Mike McCoy as head coach of the San Diego Chargers.
So the Chargers start from their 32-yard line. Ryan Matthews in the backfield. Antonio Gates shifting. Rivers on 1st down was looking for Gates. Time for a game break. We head to Los Angeles. Joel Klatt. Joel.
Kenny, that Baltimore game, crazy throughout the final 2 minutes. Joe Flacco back down the field to Marlon Brown. It was reviewed, confirmed, a touchdown. The Ravens win it 29-26. Back to Kenny, Moose, and Goose.
Thanks, Joel. 4 late touchdowns in Baltimore. Chargers certainly had an eye on that one. Ravens and Dolphins both go to 7 wins. Tied for that 2nd wild card spot in the AFC. Chargers still alive at 5 and 7. On 2nd down, this is Ryan Matthews. And he's forced out of bounds after a short gain by John Beeson.
Well, the good news for Charger fans, this is the offensive line group that they started the season with. This is the one that they would prefer to go with. You hear about the best 5. Well, this is their best 5, so we'll see if they can keep that running game going all afternoon. And, talking to Tom Coughlin, and he mentioned Ryan Matthews, when he watched him on film in preparation for this game, was very impressed with him as a runner.
Bonnie Brown in the backfield for San Diego on 3rd down and 6. Chargers must get to the 42. Movement prior to the snap. There are penalty markers as the catch is made by Vincent Brown. And he fights his way close to a first down. We will check in with referee Ron Winter.
That Giants defensive line a little aggressive there. All the guys up on the line of scrimmage, you just got to hold it and wait. You don't want to be giving Rivers free plays downfield like we just saw.
Offside. Defense number 98. In the neutral zone at the snap. That penalty is declined. The zone of the play is a first down.
That's Devontre Moore. Brown picked up first down yardage. Chargers declined the penalty.
That defensive line today is going to be the key. They got to get some pressure. Last week, got Justin Tuck getting 4 sacks against the Redskins. Jason Pierre-Paul is out again today.
Missing his second straight game. Low snap. Rivers scoops it up and then throws. The catch is made by Gates, who gains 5 out to the 47.
It's a nice job by Philip Rivers being able to handle this low snap and then get his eyes right back down the field and find Antonio Gates.
The center, Nick Hardwick, has been the one constant on this Chargers offensive line, making his 64th consecutive start. Talked about the line, Darryl. Chargers have used 6 different starting combinations. Today's starters intact for the first time since week 2. Matthews takes it out to midfield as we check out the 11th ranked Giants defense.
And Tony talked about how important it's going to be for the defensive line to have an impact on today's game. But, really, we talk about this 5-1 run over the last 6 games, and a couple of guys that jump out at you. John Beeson, the middle linebacker, big pickup from the Carolina Panthers, and then Will Hill in that safety spot to kind of balance that back end with Antrell Roll.
Giants still without Corey Webster, missing his 5th straight game. Danny Woodhead in the backfield, 3rd down and 2 for the Chargers. Rivers on 3rd down throws, and the pass is off the hands of Gates. You just mentioned Will Hill, and he came with the hit on Antonio Gates.
And it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to match up with Antonio Gates. And, he's at a stage of his career where he's still a threat. And New York knows that he's going to be the go-to guy in certain situations. We've seen that on the opening possession here today. So will it be Will Hill against Antonio Gates one-on-one throughout the afternoon?
Mike Cyphers from his 40. Ruben Randall is back deep for the Giants. Calls for the fair catch, steps out of bounds. So Eli Manning and the Giants will start from their own 11-yard line when we return to San Diego. Back in San Diego, early first quarter, second possession for the New York Giants. They start from their 11 as the boos continue to rain down. As Eli Manning drops back into the shotgun. Inside handoff to Andre Brown, who's playing in his 5th game, coming back from the broken leg, his 2nd in 2 years, and he is the Giants' leading rusher after playing in only 4 games.
Well, it's been a hodgepodge at the running back situation for the Giants all season long, and really what he's added is that consistency to the position. Great story coming back from the injuries and all the challenges that Andre Brown has had. An example of perseverance as a player in the NFL.
Giants have started 6 different running backs. Brandon Jacobs made the trip but is inactive today. 2nd down and 4. Manning with loads of time fires downfield, and the catch is made by Hakeem Nicks, who takes it all the way down to the San Diego 32-yard line. So Manning hits Nicks for a gain of 51.
They really felt as though there were going to be opportunities for the big play on 1st and 2nd down. Now here's a 2nd down snap. You've got dual posts, so you pull the inside safety towards Brandon Myers, and that gives the opening for Hakeem Nicks into the middle of the field.
That's one thing this defense didn't want to do, is give confidence to Eli Manning all day to stand back there and find his receivers downfield.
Eli goes over 3,000 yards on that completion for the 9th consecutive season. Play action, and this pass is intended for Randall, deflected, and then picked off. Deflected by Wright, and then Donald Butler will bring it all the way back into Giants territory. His first interception of the season, only the 8th pick for this Chargers defense. The deflection by Wright into the hands of Butler. The Giants, the only team in the NFL who have committed a turnover in every game this season. Their lead leading 32nd. So now the Chargers on 1st and 10 from midfield. Rivers slipped, stayed on his feet, and the pass was intended for Ryan Matthews. Rivers also took a hit from Justin Tuck.
Oh, this is good hustle on that last play by Donald Butler because he gets pulled up on the play action. Now, I thought this was deflected by Shareece Wright, but it actually bounces off of Rueben Randle. So he's got to make that catch after that. But there's the hustle because Donald Butler came all the way up into the line of scrimmage on a really, really nice play action fake by the Giants, but turned and hustled back to the ball.
First time in 3 career games against San Diego that Eli Manning has thrown a pick. Woodhead in the slot to the right. Empty backfield. Chargers just able to get the snap away on 2nd down. Rivers complete to Eddie Royal, who gains 7 to the Giants 43.
One of the things you see from Philip Rivers, his first year in this offense with Mike McCoy as the head coach, very decisive with the football, and everything is focused on completions. Get the ball out quick. Don't wait on that big play. You know, just take what's there. Let's work our way down the field. They're one of the better teams in long possessions and 3rd down conversions.
Empty backfield once again for San Diego. Rivers on 3rd down and 3. Fires downfield. It's caught by Allen. And Keenan Allen is in for the touchdown.
Keenan Allen just runs right by Terrell Thomas. Now let's watch here at the end. He launches from, gosh, outside the 5-yard line almost. That's explosive by Keenan Allen. Was that 1 foot inbounds?
Yeah, that's the big question. That left foot right there.
Previous play will be reviewed.
All scoring plays are reviewed, so Ron Winter will take a look at it. It will either be a touchdown or 1st and goal from the 3 for the Chargers. Back in San Diego, ruling on the field was touchdown. Keenan Allen. We bring in Mike Pereira. Mike, what do you think?
2 things they have to look at here. First of all, the left toe here. Was the left toe inbounds at that point, which they ruled it was? And then secondly, to the pylon now, does the ball touch the pylon there? Because if it does and the toe is inbounds, it makes it a touchdown because the pylon is out of bounds in the end zone. So to me, do you have anything or enough to overturn it to say that he wasn't? I wouldn't think so. I think you have to stay with the call.
All right, thanks, Mike. Here comes referee Ron Winter.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It is a touchdown.
Nice job, Mike.
That's a pretty athletic play by Keenan Allen on that. And that's you know, just as a young guy, you know, kind of taking over for some veteran receivers that are hurt. You talk about Darnario Alexander and Malcolm Floyd not in the lineup, and he's really stepped up. This is going to be a fun offense to watch now as they move forward and they get those guys back healthy.
Nick Novak adds the extra point, so the Chargers capitalize following the interception. 4th touchdown of the season for the rookie Keenan Allen. Donald Butler with the interception, setting up the Chargers touchdown. Rivers to Allen, 43 yards, upheld in review. San Diego with a 7-0 lead. Novak's kick into the end zone. Michael Cox hesitated, then takes it out. Looks to turn the corner. Cox out across the 20. We take you back to April 24th, 2004. Chargers with the #1 pick select Eli Manning. Giants then choose Phillip Rivers at number 4. They trade 3 draft picks to the Chargers along with Rivers for Manning, who is a 2-time Super Bowl MVP. Rivers has gone to 4 Pro Bowls, led the Chargers to 4 division titles and an AFC championship game.
And I thought the funny thing this week is Eli gets booed for the 3rd consecutive series is when they asked him, well, why didn't you want to go to San Diego? I forgot. I can't remember why I didn't want to go to San Diego.
He said it's a beautiful city. I visited there a couple of times. 3rd possession for Eli Manning and the Giants. They start from the 20. This is Andre Brown. And Brown takes it out to the 24-yard line. Time for a game break. Joel Klatt.
Kenny, we go back to New England. Patriots with a late score. Cleveland drove into field goal range, but Billy Cundiff from 58 comes up a little short. 27-26 Patriots. They move to 10-3. Still alive for that 1 seed in the AFC. Kenny, Moose, and Goose.
Unbelievable. Browns had a 19-3 lead in the 3rd quarter.
No style points in the NFL, Kenny.
It's all about finish,
A win
baby.
is a win.
And the Patriots win for the 10th time. Matching Denver and Kansas City.
Eli's running out of time here with 2 on the clock.
And he does not get the snap away in time, Goose.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
And
Those
we've had
offensive guys always trying to get that perfect play out there, huh, Darryl?
Well, yeah, Tony, we've had him a couple of times this season, and this is one of the recurring themes. Now, whether it's the play late getting into the huddle, whether there's not enough time at the clock and then you get up to the line and you want to change it, but we've seen this time and time again with them having delay games and issues right up to the snap.
Kevin Gilbride, former head coach here in San Diego. 97 season and then 6 games in 98. Victor Cruz makes the catch and extends across the 30 for a Giants 1st down.
Victor Cruz, nice with a little catch on the outside, makes the first guy miss. Explosive player out on the outside. He's dangerous.
Well, you're going to look for that, and that's one of the things that Eli Manning will be checking at the line of scrimmage. How are they defending Victor Cruz if he's outside, singled up on one side of the line of scrimmage as well to that side? Is it just a one-on-one where he's going to have some opportunities to make some plays in space if you play that off coverage?
Gain of 11 for Cruz. New set of downs for the Giants. Brown in the backfield along with the fullback John Connor. Manning looked to throw on 1st down. He's hit. Lawrence Guy, number 71, who started the season with the Indianapolis Colts, with the pressure on Manning.
Good sign for Charger fans right here, being able to get to the quarterback with just your down 4. Lawrence Guy getting around the corner inside, gets there right as Eli's about to throw the ball.
Yeah, he's by James Brewer, right on the line of scrimmage.
The play clock guys again winding down.
But they had to rebump it up. They were looking to see whether that was an incomplete on the spot, so Ron Winter actually gave him a new play clock.
They bump up the play clock. It had gone down to 3. Second and 10 from the 31-yard line. Brown up the sideline, and Andre Brown picks up a 1st down. Out to the 42. Brown gains 11.
And this is important, and Tony and I, we talked about this earlier. It's a 2nd and 10 situation. You want to throw the ball on 1st down. That's when you get some of your more basic coverages. But if you get the incomplete, what do you do on 2nd and 10? And the ability to come out on 2nd and 10 and call a run with confidence to Andre Brown is very, very important for the Giants during the course of the afternoon.
Two tight ends on 1st down. Manning over the top. Brown stumbled. Down at the 46-yard line. Gain of 4. Giants have not scored in the first quarter in each of their last 2 games. They fell behind 14-0 in Washington on Sunday night. Came back to defeat the Redskins 24-17. Giants have won 5 of their last 6 despite scoring only 1 first quarter touchdown in those 6 games. On 2nd and 6, it is Brown, and he is hit for a loss. Cam Thomas wrapping up Andre Brown, who loses 5 yards.
They had 3 guys in the backfield on that play, Tony. I don't know if they were trying to influence somebody, but Cam Thomas.
Yeah, it looks like they were sliding down on that left side.
That's James Brewer's 2nd time, Tony, of coming down inside hard and having an outside move on that play and not being able to recover.
Yeah, when I'm seeing him, he's a little bit too aggressive. He's trying to go and get the punch. You got to give a little bit of ground and wait for that defensive lineman to come to you. Right now, he's been a little too aggressive, and that's why he's getting so much pressure right over the top of him.
Looked like Eli had trouble hearing the play call into his helmet. 3rd down and 11 as Brandon Myers reaches up to make the catch, but is about 6 yards shy of a first down. So Steve Weatherford and the punting unit head out onto the field.
Well, defensive coordinator John Pagano really has his guys playing well at the start of this game. You know, really a pep in their step. Everybody flying around. We saw a great example on the interception by Donald Butler, but they're just the speed that we're seeing right now in that front and the underneath, impressive.
Keenan Allen, who has the game's first touchdown, is back deep. Allen at the 6. Tremendous coverage by the Giants. Downfield on special teams, led by Charles James. Pressure on Eli Manning here in the first quarter in San Diego. Back in San Diego, Kenny Albert, Daryl Johnston, Tony Siragusa. Chargers lead the Giants 7-0. Phillip Rivers takes the snap. Now 20 yards in front of Goose. Ryan Matthews.
I love
the middle.
Nice, Daryl. Seeing the I formation in the backfield. Gets me excited a little bit, you know.
Seen it a couple of times today.
Smash mouth football.
Goose, it looks like you're part of that I formation.
I'll tell you what, I'm right here. This is the best seat in the house, Kenny.
Yeah, Mike McCoy, I think he's done a nice job here his first season, you know, come in and fix some of the issues that they had previously. I think the big thing is, you know, getting Phillip Rivers on board with everything. You know, you've got Antonio Gates and Phillip Rivers who performed really well in other offenses, and they've really got those two to buy into what they're doing this season.
On 2nd and 9, the inside handoff to Matthews. And Ryan Matthews takes it up to the 14-yard line, setting up 3rd down and 2 for the Chargers. There's John Beeson. What a job he has done since coming over in a trade from Carolina in early October.
Yeah, you know, statistically very impressive, but I really think from a vocal leadership standpoint, you can see it right there. That's just as important, you know, what he brings on the football field as a middle linebacker in performance, but also in leadership.
Woodhead set up to the left of Rivers, and the handoff to Danny Woodhead. Picks up a first down and more. Down to the 25-yard line. The former Jet and Patriot. Giants very aware of Woodhead. He gains 11.
Yeah, when you have Woodhead in the backfield, Daryl, as a defensive lineman, you can't see him. I mean, see him back here, number 39 right here. I mean, as a defensive lineman, you try to keep an eye on him. I'm trying to erase this thing here. He just goes, he has such quick moves, but the one thing about it, he gets vertical fast. He's, I'll tell you what, in pass protection also, he sticks his nose in there.
Yeah, he's pretty powerful little guy.
From the 25 on first down, it's Matthews. Gains 4 out to the 29-yard line. Matthews, a Pro Bowler back in 2011. Suffered 2 broken collarbones last year. But a good bounce-back season. He's Rushed for 100 yards in 3 of the Chargers' last 7 games.
Yeah, that's a nice average per carry through the course of the season, too, 4.4.
Chargers empty the backfield. Ronnie Brown split wide to the right. Gates in the slot. And it is Keenan Allen who makes the catch and picks up a Chargers first down.
Grabbing his shoulder.
Yeah, looks to be shaken up as he gets back up.
This will be a tough loss because, you know, Philip Rivers, I mean, to hear him speak about Keenan Allen, that is a nice release right there. Selling the outside move and then coming back underneath on that quick slant.
Yeah, it looks like his shoulder right here at the end of with the catch. When he goes down, looks like it got stuck right into the ground right there.
Those are Keenan Allen's numbers coming into the game. Second catch today, 60 on the season, and that breaks LaDainian Tomlinson's franchise record for most receptions by a Chargers rookie.
And seeing him leave right now, that's a huge loss for this offense. We've already talked about the way he's performed in the absence of Malcolm Floyd and Denario Alexander. So that's a huge miss at the wide receiver position for this Charger team.
Hands off to Matthews. Gains a couple out to the 44.
And we'll go back to this play and see what happens at the end. You know, number one, it was a great release. He gets inside, but you don't see a lot. You don't see a player on top. He didn't have the extra body weight. Just hit that ground hard on that shoulder.
Yeah, right afterwards, looked like it got stuck in the turf there. It took a couple steps and just went right down.
Third-round pick out of Cal, replaced by Shea Ojera-Tutu. Philip Rivers connecting with Allen on a 43-yard touchdown. So with 1 quarter in the books here in San Diego, it's the Chargers leading the Giants 7-0. Both teams 5-7, yet both teams still alive mathematically. Chargers with a 7-0 lead. Second down and 8. As we start the second quarter, it's Matthews out to the 47. Antrell Roll the tackle, gain of 3. Mike McCoy without Keenan Allen, who has the Chargers touchdown today. Injured late in the first quarter. Chargers must get to the Giants 48 for a first down. Rivers steps up and then dumps it off to Ronnie Brown, and Brown picks up a first down inside the Giants' 40-yard line.
Oh, what a great decision by Philip Rivers on this, because he wants to go downfield and he changes his mind right at the very last second. He's holding, and he's got it pumped and he wants to get down the field, and watch him just get to the check down real late right there.
Does a nice job also working that pocket, Philip Rivers. The Giants brought some pressure on the outside. They need to get a little bit more pressure right up in the middle, right up in his face, but did a great job getting that ball out like Moose said.
There's 6 completions for Rivers to 5 different receivers. Off the fake to Matthews. Rivers with time, and he overthrows the intended receiver, tight end Ladarius Green.
Well, that's a good job by the New York Giants, though. You've got Keith Rivers as a linebacker underneath with the coverage, and then over the top, Tremaine McBride with the help. Ladarius Green coming across in motion. So you're going to ride him the entire way. That's good at knowing. Now remember, you pointed out Keenan Allen just went out of the lineup, so Ladarius Green probably one of those guys going to try and pick up that production. Good awareness by the Giants defense.
10th play of the drive for the Chargers. Right clock at 2. No flags, although it certainly appeared as if the Chargers did not get the snap away in time, and the pass is caught by Eddie Royal.
Yeah, you get a little bit. I mean, that clock has to go all the way to 0, and then you might get another tick there. But I agree with you, Kenny. That was
more than a tick.
Yeah, that was more than a tick.
Because you talk about the tenths of seconds. When it first goes to 0, there are still tenths of seconds, but that seemed like a full second or 2. Now third down and 4. Chargers must get to the 30 for a first down. Bunch formation to the left. Rivers throws left to the tight end, Gates. So Antonio Gates, with his second catch today, 708th reception of his career, picks up a San Diego first down.
You get into that bunch formation, but really, Terrell Thomas just laid on the reaction. It's a nice, simple out route, but he beats him with the separation right away. Caught Terrell Thomas kind of flat-footed early on his release.
Chargers started this drive at their own 6-yard line. First and 10 from the Giants, 26. It's Woodhead. Woodhead gains a couple to the Giants, 24. He's listed at 5'8". You guys were talking about his height earlier, and Woodhead said this week, if someone told me I'm going to give you 2 more inches, I wouldn't take them. What's 2 more inches going to do for me? If I have 2 more inches, the linebackers and everyone else might be able to see me a little bit better.
Actually, exactly the point that Tony brought up on that one run. You get in behind the big offensive line, you lose track of him.
Now he's on the sidelines, we think. And a nice tackle made by Spencer Pasinger on Ryan Matthews.
He came off a really nice game last week, getting the start ahead of Jaquan Williams last week against the Redskins, picking up right where he left off, right there, coming from the opposite side of the field. Great pursuit.
Pasinger grew up 2 hours north in Los Angeles. Friends and family in attendance here in San Diego. 3rd down and 7. Woodhead back on the field. Chargers must get to the 16-yard line. As Rivers throws, pass was low and it bounced as Eddie Royal tried to come back and make the catch. Chargers will send out the field goal unit.
Again, I think one of the passes, it's affected by the front. It's not a sack, it's not a hurry or a hit, but you know that pocket is starting to collapse around Philip Rivers, and I think it may have impacted that throw.
So here is Nick Novak out to attempt a 41-yard field goal. From the right hash, Novak's kick is no good, wide to the right. So the Chargers with the ball for 7.5 minutes, and now there's a flag. A late flag has been thrown.
Offside. Defense number 37 in the neutral zone to snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 4th down.
Well, Tom Coughlin used to talk to us about the catastrophic play on special teams. And this is going to fit into that. It's not, they've had issues with return touchdowns, but here's points that you prevented. Nick Novak misses the kick wide, and you're giving him another chance because of your lineup.
Well, Charles James lined up in the neutral zone. This time it is Novak from 36, and it is straight through.
Exactly right, Moose. Tom Coughlin, I don't think was too happy about that.
Chargers given a second chance, and they capitalize. Sunday afternoon here in San Diego. Chargers out to a 10-0 lead on the Giants. Nick Novak missed from 41, given a second opportunity, and hit from 36. Michael Cox will not take it out. So with the Chargers leading 10-0, we welcome you into the broadcast booth here in San Diego. Some Giants mistakes. An interception thrown by Eli Manning. Chargers capitalize, and then the penalty on the missed field goal.
And I think that that's one of the overlooked parts of this 5-1 run. Everybody wants to focus on the defense and what they've done, but they've just played cleaner games. They've got more balanced offensively, but a couple of critical mistakes. It's a big pass down the field early to kind of get your offense going, an interception on the very next play, and that right there, it's as simple as lining up the right way in your field goal block formation. They can't get that done right, and it costs them 3 points.
Giants start from the 20-yard line, trailing 10-0 as Manning goes deep. And the pass is broken up. It was intended for Louis Murphy Jr. Sharice Wright on the coverage.
Well, staying true to form and what they talked about, Eli Manning felt on 1st and 2nd down we had opportunities to get some throws down the field, and these are just simple go routes where they're trying to run away from people.
That ball might have been underthrown a little bit right there.
Yeah, maybe a little bit late.
And now an injured Charger. It is Wright.
Maybe
Had the
just
coverage on Murphy on that last play.
Yeah, maybe just the shoe being untied.
Will return to San Diego. Well, there's Sharice Wright in his 3rd season out of USC. Broke up the pass intended for Murphy on the last play, and then as he was heading back into the defensive huddle, pulled up late.
Yeah, the limp became more and more pronounced as he was walking back toward the huddle. We saw the shoe untied and thought maybe it was just equipment, but it appears he got it untied. So on the sideline, landed a little awkwardly when he made the play on the ball.
Replaced by Johnny Patrick, who has his injury problems as well. On 2nd down, Brown loses a yard as we head to Los Angeles for a game break. And Joel Klatt. Joel.
Hey, Kenny, let's go up to San Francisco. And the first touchdown of the day in the huge NFC West showdown, Marshawn Lynch from 11 yards out. His 33rd touchdown in the last 3 seasons. A 7-6 Seahawks in this one. Kenny, Moose, and Goose.
All right, thanks very much, Joel. Seahawks at 11-1. Now already clinched playoff berth. And clinch the division with a win today. Manning on 3rd down and 11. He fires, pass intended for Hakeem Nicks. Richard Marshall on the coverage.
And this is a good job by the New York Giants in pass protection, offensive line, and Andre Brown doing a nice job to give Eli that clean pocket. And again, back shoulder there on that location of that throw to Hakeem Nicks.
Eddie Royal back deep, taking the place of the injured Keenan Allen for the Chargers. Good pressure on Weatherford. Was never had a punt blocked in his career. It was Manti Te'o who nearly blocked it. Well, Fox UFC Saturday returns this week as Demetrius Johnson defends his World Flyweight Championship against Joseph Benavidez. Live on Fox. Coverage begins Saturday, 8 Eastern, right here on Fox. 10-0 lead for the San Diego Chargers. Phillip Rivers' 2nd career start against the team that originally drafted him. The first time Eli Manning faced Chargers in 2005. Rivers was backing up Drew Brees here in San Diego. Matthews in the backfield on 1st down. Takes the handoff from Rivers. And is out across the 35-yard line. Jonathan Hankins made the tackle.
I think one of the interesting things talking to Phillip Rivers this week was he doesn't spend as much time with Mike McCoy. It's actually Ken Whisenhunt, and you would assume, or I assumed, that because of the relationship he had with Norv Turner, that he would have conversations with the head coach. But Norv was also the play caller, the offensive coordinator, all rolled into one. So they spent a lot of time together. And now it's actually with Ken Whisenhunt, who he spends the majority of his time during the course of the week getting that game plan installed.
Whisenhunt, head coach in Arizona the last 6 seasons. As Rivers is sacked back at the 30-yard line, guess who? Justin Tuck, the reigning NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had 4 sacks on Sunday night of Robert Griffin III in Washington.
Now, he's not Mr. Almost anymore. I mean, he is getting there on a regular basis now, coming from the outside on your left, working against DJ Fluker. And that's really, he has continued to work every single snap this year. The numbers were not there until last week. He only had 2.5 sacks during the course of the year this year, had the 4 last week. But he has been so close during the course of the season. It's finally starting to pay off for Justin Tuck statistically.
From 2.5 to 7.5 in 6 quarters. Now Rivers on 3rd and 13 throws, and the catch is made for a first down. Antonio Gates out to the 46-yard line, a 15-yard connection.
I know Tony loves on a 3rd and long where you go 3 down and drop 8 into coverage.
Only rushing 3 guys on this. You're going to give Philip Rivers plenty of time. See the guys, I mean, they're trying to move around, but you just got too many offensive linemen to get around. Kiwanuka comes up there at the end, but that gives Philip Rivers plenty of time to go and find Antonio Gates down the field.
From the 46, off the play fake, Rivers to the outside, and it is Vincent Brown who makes the catch, picks up another San Diego first down, a gain of 12.
I think it's strange that they felt as a staff coming in that one thing we have to change is the perspective that Philip Rivers was the issue here, why they have not been able to take that next step as an organization, because you see what he's done throughout his career. It definitely has not been Philip Rivers' fault. They seem to have always had a major issue each season.
Inside handoff, Woodhead stumbles forward and gains 5 down to the 37.
You go back and take a look at what he's done this year. We mentioned that he's, borderline career numbers in certain statistics. You look at from last year to this year. Now, that's your first year in an offense. Relearning terminology, blending, what they used to do here offensively, because Mike McCoy and Ken Whisenhunt wanted that to be a part of it, bringing in some of the influences from Denver with Mike McCoy, from Pittsburgh and Arizona with Ken Whisenhunt. He's just performed really, really well in that first year.
Close snap, 2nd and 5. Rivers hits Woodhead, and Woodhead picks up another Chargers first down. You look at Rivers' sacks and interceptions, total turnovers from a season ago, way down during 2013.
Because it's about completion percentage. If the first option is open, take it right there. Let's continue to build positive plays. Let's stay ahead of the chains. You can, 11 for 16. That's how you get there with that theory, with that mentality.
So Whisenhunt just to the right of head coach Mike McCoy. Chargers on the move, leading the Giants 10-0 from the 31-yard line. Another check down. It's Ryan Matthews, fends off the first tackle attempt by Terrell Thomas, and has another San Diego first down.
This is one of the reasons you buy into that belief. You can check it down to a back who has the ability to put a stiff arm out and take a 4-yard catch and turn it into a first down.
From the Giants' 21-yard line, it's Matthews. And Matthews is inside the 10, inside the 5. Well, Ryan Matthews on 1st and 10 from the 21, gains 17.
Does a really nice job on the stretch play right here. Cut back inside right after he goes and just gets vertical. Little spin move. You got that in your toolbox, don't you, Dal?
Absolutely, double spin.
He's spinning here in the booth.
That's my run right there, Goose. That's my spin move.
No. No.
Spun myself right into the turf.
Now, we spoke to Philip Rivers on Friday as we take one more look. He told us we can improve in the red zone. We've gone up and down the field from the 20 to 20, but then have struggled.
And one of the things that you have to do well in the red zone is run the football. And credit the Giants front right there. They had everything covered up, really kind of reestablished that line of scrimmage in the Chargers backfield.
Keenan Allen has returned. Top of your screen, split wide to the left. 10th play of the drive for San Diego. Shovel pass to Woodhead, but it did not fool the Giants.
And it's Justin Tuck. And this is one of the reasons there's a lot of discussion going on right now about what is going to happen at the end of the season in regards to Justin Tuck. Are we going to sign him to a long-term deal? Will he retire as a career New York Giant? And this is going to be an interesting decision because statistically this year and his age, you might say, wow, it's going to be a tough choice. We've got other areas we've got to fill in. But those are the types of plays. He's been doing that all season long. If you listen to his teammates speak, he's been the most consistent player all season long.
Timeout is taken by the Chargers. So Rivers will head to the sideline. A sack today for Tuck. 3rd and goal when we return. Chargers lead 10-0. Looking to add to their lead. 3rd and goal from the Giants 4. Rivers to the end zone. Touchdown. 2nd of the game for Keenan Allen.
You got to just sort through all the 3-man routes that are coming off this left side here. If you're the Giants defense, you're going to motion Ladarius Green back in to kind of create that bunch, number 89. There's Keenan Allen at the line of scrimmage. You send Danny Woodhead out there. And Prince Amukamara is late to recognize it because you could tell by Terrell Thomas he did not carry Keenan Allen. So late recognition by Prince Amukamara, and that leaves Keenan Allen open for the touchdown.
25th touchdown pass of the season for Philip Rivers. He's hit at least 25, 6 straight seasons. Only Peyton Manning and Drew Brees with longer streaks. Back in San Diego on a 60-degree Sunday afternoon. It is 32 degrees with snow showers in New York.
Yeah, we saw in the games earlier today that the East Coast with that big snowstorm, especially Philadelphia. I mean, the accumulation on the field in Philadelphia, I had to be 5-6 inches of snow on that surface.
There was snow to varying degrees at 6 of the early games, yet there was an average of over 56 points scored in those 6 games. Michael Cox on the return for the Giants. There is a flag. Another flag comes flying in as Cox takes it out to the 39-yard line.
During the return, holding, number 21, return team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
Ryan Mundy.
And these are just such difficult penalties. You can see Ryan Mundy's right there at the top of your screen. Just, you get some momentum built, you get a nice return, something you struggled in during the course of the season, and you got the penalty and you're pushed all the way back.
So another Giants mistake. First 4 possessions, 3 punts, and a turnover. Interception led to the Chargers' first touchdown. Eli Manning and the Giants start from the 20 as Andre Brown takes it out for a gain of 4. Time for a game break. Joel Klatt. Joel.
Kenny, we go to chilly Denver. Peyton Manning 3-7, under 32 degrees. This game kicked at 20 degrees and he looks okay. 21-17 Titans. Denver was sluggish to start the game, but they will receive the second half kick. Back to you, Kenny Moose and Goose.
All right, thanks, Joel. So Peyton's brother Eli takes the snap on 2nd down and 6. And now fires complete to Victor Cruz for a Giants first down out of the 38-yard line. Gain of 14 for Cruz.
One of the things that you saw with that last graphic with the drives for the New York Giants, 3 of those being 3 and outs, and it's an area where they were very good last season. And one of the better teams in the NFL when you talk about the fewest number of 3 and outs, and it has been an issue for them this season.
And the Chargers now are coming into this game. Their defense forced the fewest 3 and outs in the NFL. Manning on first down. Pass intended for Myers, the tight end, and it's Manti Te'o, the 2nd-round pick out of Notre Dame, who nearly blocked a punt earlier, who breaks up that pass.
Yeah, I really felt as though Manti Te'o should have blocked that punt earlier on, got let clean to the punter, missed that, and here's another opportunity for a big play, and just beyond the outstretched fingertips.
I'll tell you what, from the first time we saw him when we had Dallas here in San Diego to now, Darryl, Friday he had a great practice, a lot of enthusiasm, playing with a lot more confidence, Manti Te'o.
And that game against the Cowboys, Tony, was his NFL debut. He missed the first 3 games of the season. Inside handoff to Brown, and he runs right into the arms of Reggie Walker. Reggie Walker with the tackle.
Yeah, really have to compliment a guy like Reggie Walker. He's been all through the front for this San Diego Charger defense. You talk about some of the injuries that they've sustained during the course of the season, and Reggie Walker has been one of those guys, you know, playing linebacker spots all over, a rush end in your nickel package.
They approach the 2-minute warning. Giants will not get the snap off in time. So 3rd down and 10 coming up for Eli Manning and the New York Giants, who trail the Chargers by 17. 2 minutes remaining, second quarter. Chargers leading the Giants 17-0. And now Mike McCoy calling Ron Winter over for a discussion about the last play.
The previous play ended prior to the 2-minute warning. Therefore, San Diego is challenging the ruling on the field of the runner being down by contact.
Take a look and see when that ball came out. Looks like it was coming out before those knees were on the ground, but you know, the big point put out, you know, it happened outside of the 2-minute warning, so Mike McCoy had to challenge.
I was standing right near the Giants sideline right here, trying to get Coach Kaufman going in, and you know, from my perspective down here, it looked like that ball was out. I mean, I'm surprised that they went and blew the whistle like it was a dead ball.
Watch the right knee, and Goose, on that look, it certainly looked like it may have come out before the right knee was down.
In a situation like that too, you know, you've got the 2-minute warning, so you've got that big break, so the conversation between the sideline and upstairs for Mike McCoy.
Extra time for the coaches up in the box to take a look at it.
And you remember the other part to this is the clear recovery. So number one, from that angle, the ball comes out before those knees are down, and then there's Marcus Gilchrist with the clear recovery.
But the initial ruling was that Andre Brown was down. Because the first play has not taken place following the 2-minute warning, it is a coach's challenge. There was a clear recovery, as you saw, by Gilchrist.
This is your definitive look right here. Ball's out before that right knee is down.
Andre Brown has never fumbled prior to that. 166 career carries. How about the two quarterbacks on the field at the same time? Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning.
Engrossed in a deep conversation.
Two touchdown passes for Rivers, both to Keenan Allen. Eli threw a pick. Donald Butler with the interception, which led to the first San Diego score. Now the Giants offense is leaving the field.
After review, the ball was loose before the runner's knees touched the ground. Therefore, it is a fumble. It was a clear recovery. A clear recovery by number 38, San Diego. It's first down on the 39-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 2:35. San Diego is not charged a timeout.
So it's the first career fumble for Andre Brown. Second Giants turnover today, league leading 33rd of the season.
Have two 2-minute warnings also. We had a 2-minute warning already. Now they're going to put it back to 2:35. when it goes back down to 2 minutes, they got to stop again.
Excellent point, Goose.
How about that, Kenny?
Tony recognizes the most obscure things on a weekly
That's
basis.
why they have me here, for the least obvious.
Always thinking outside the box. Rivers hands it off to Woodhead, who takes it up the middle and picks up a Chargers first down to the Giants 28.
Getting in there behind all those big bodies again, Tony. I really believe you. He does seem to get lost. You look at just the difference in height right there as we take a look at the San Diego huddle. Even Eddie Royal's taller than him.
Yeah, everybody, man. It's unbelievable. But look at the thickness of his legs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, looking at him, man, he's just, from the waist down, this kid is thick. His thighs, his ankles, I mean.
He's short. He's not small.
No.
What time is it, Goose?
Hey, it's 2-minute warning, guys, so take a break there.
Did we already have that?
Yeah, we did.
Our second 2-minute warning of the first half. What's coming up on the Visa halftime report, Kurt?
Coming up on the Visa halftime, some sunny late games, but some snowy early games. And some wild ones as well, including great finishes for New England, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. It's all coming up on the Visa halftime, where even Cletus is thrilled about those finishes.
So a pair of 2-minute warnings, but only one Visa halftime report. That's coming up. There's Brandon Jacobs sitting to the left of Andre Brown, who fumbled moments ago, leading to the second 2-minute warning. Kurt talked about the weather back east today, and as we mentioned, some high-scoring games. The winning teams in the 6 games played in snow averaged 34 points.
That's a credit to those offenses in those games under those types of conditions, especially Philadelphia.
From the Giants 29, this is Woodhead. And he is tackled by Jaquan Williams. The last time Woodhead faced the Giants, he was a member of the New England Patriots, and he scored the Patriots' first touchdown in Super Bowl 46 in Indianapolis. Second down and 6. Rivers fires complete to Gates. Fends off a tackle and takes it down to the 2-yard line.
Antonio Gates coming from your traditional tight end spot, right in between the linebacker and the safety levels. You can see Jaquan Williams and Antrell Roll trying to converge on him.
23 yards from Rivers to Gates. 1 minute remaining, second quarter. To make matters even worse for the Giants, Chargers will get the ball first in the second half. Ball start.
It's like Nick Hardwick had a completely different snap count than everybody else. He just stood there.
First Chargers penalty today.
False start. Number 78. Offense. This is a 5-yard penalty. San Diego has elected to take a 10-second runoff in lieu of a charge team timeout. Please reset the game clock to 40 seconds.
The left guard, Chad Reinhardt. Game clock has been reset. Chargers still with 2 timeouts. First and goal from the 7. Hand off to Matthews. Still on his feet. Now San Diego will use a timeout. They have 1 remaining with 24 seconds on the clock. Eli Manning through the early pick. Donald Butler with the interception, leading to the first Chargers touchdown. Midway through the first quarter, Rivers to Keenan Allen, dives for the pylon. Allen with his second touchdown of the game late in the second quarter. Chargers also kicked a field goal after they initially missed, but Giants penalty gave Mike McCoy's squad a second chance.
Yeah, miscues, which has been really one of the biggest issues for Tom Coughlin and the New York Giants this season. I mean, the first thing you have to do is you can't beat yourself out there. In too many games this season, the Giants have put themselves into very, very difficult positions because of things within their control.
Start of the season 0-6. Big hole to climb out of. Second and goal from the 6-yard line. Rivers to Woodhead. Touchdown.
Well, the two big plays at the end of this drive, Antonio Gates with the big 23-yard reception to get him down inside the 5-yard line, and then Danny Woodhead on the touchdown. Those are two guys that you have to make sure you have accounted for in this situation. So defensively for the New York Giants, two mistakes there.
So another Giants turnover leads to a San Diego touchdown. Novak, the extra point. It is now 24-0 Chargers.
Go back to the touchdown. Now, Philip Rivers has time on this. You know, you expect that clock to go off. You're only rushing two guys. You've got two people rushing. That means you're dropping 9 into coverage. That's the way you elect to do it. Here's Danny Woodhead coming out of the backfield. You've got Justin Tuck. He bumps him, but Tremaine McBride comes inside with him. And after that play, there was a big conversation between Tremaine McBride, Will Hill, and Justin Tuck, all trying to figure out what happened. You had 3 people there in that area, and yet Danny Woodhead is still left open to be able to score that touchdown.
Hey, hard to find that guy.
Well, Rivers has found him, Goose, 64 times. Woodhead leading all NFL running backs in receptions. It's not the Super Bowl, but Woodhead has yet another touchdown against the New York Giants. Rivers, 3 first-half touchdowns week 1 against Houston. The Chargers scored 21 points in the first half in that game, so 24 points today, a season high in the first half for San Diego.
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect the same thing to happen as did in week 1, where the San Diego Chargers allowed the Houston Texans to come all the way back and win that game 31-28.
Kickoff scooped up at the 22-yard line and taken back by Marcus Kuhn as we head for another game break with Joel Klatt. Joel?
Kenny, some history in Denver. To end the first half, Matt Prater, a 64-yard field goal is good. He owns it by himself as time expires. 21-20. Titans still with the lead, but history for Matt Prater. Kenny, Moose, and Goose.
All right, Joel. So Tom Dempsey, Jason Elam, Sebastian Janikowski, and David Akers have been surpassed. They all kicked a 63-yard field goal. Matt Prater with a 64-yarder in Denver as the catch is made by Ruben Randall. Takes it out to the 44-yard line, and the Giants call timeout. Well, American Idol is looking for the next superstar. Join Jennifer Lopez, Keith Urban, Harry Connick Jr., along with Ryan Seacrest as they search for the best new talent. American Idol's most exciting season yet begins Wednesday, January 15th, right here on Fox.
Kenny, you ever sing, Kenny? Sound like you'd have a good voice.
You don't want to hear me sing, Goose.
No, not good at all.
Now, am I allowed to share what you shared with me at breakfast today? That you used to be in the choir, Tony?
Yeah, I was.
You were Glee before Glee was cool.
That's right. That's right. I was a soprano before I was a soprano.
Batting on 2nd and 1. Catch is made by Brown. Out of bounds with 2 seconds on the clock. It's taken over a decade for Goose to share that information with you.
Over a decade. Can you believe that?
I can't tell you everything. Forgot it. I still want to hear you sing, Kenny.
Probably wait another decade. Final play of the first half, barring a defensive penalty, as Manning continues to hear the boos here in San Diego as he heaves this one downfield, and it is caught by Nix. But time will expire. Nix makes the catch inside the 5-yard line. It is a 44-yard completion. That is how the first half will end. All Chargers They lead 24-0. Time for the Visa halftime report. Kurt, take it away. America's Game of the Week here in San Diego. We get set for the third quarter. Chargers lead the Giants 24-0. 2 Giants turnovers leading to a couple of Chargers touchdowns. Kenny Albert along with Darryl Johnston in the broadcast booth. Tony Siragusa downstairs. And for the Chargers, Darryl, they try to get to a 6th win with 3 games remaining, knowing that the second wild card team in the AFC has 7.
And this could be a situation where San Diego looks back on this season and recognizes a lot of missed opportunities, as well as they are playing this afternoon. It's an example of what they've done throughout the year. They've beaten Philadelphia, Dallas, Kansas City, and then they've lost to teams like Oakland, Houston, the Washington Redskins, and that's one of the things that's been very frustrating for this group. Huge win at Kansas City, but how do you come back and play that way at other times during the course of the season? So could be a tough, a bitter pill to swallow for the Chargers.
24 first half points today. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to itunes.com/NFL. Chargers will get the ball first here in the second half, as Josh Brown is on the field for the first time today. Ronnie Brown back deep for the Chargers. Brown's last kickoff return, 2011, with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Brown will be stopped shy of the 20-yard line. Goose.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Coughlin going in, and I asked him what he was going to tell his team at halftime, and he said, listen, we're going and beating ourselves. This is not the same team that we were last week. We got to go and make something happen. And also talked to Mike McCoy. Mike McCoy said, listen, we can't come out and let this Giants team have anything. We got to go and right off the bat go after them, because if we give them any kind of life, they are very capable of coming back on us. So that's what the both coaches said.
All right, Goose, and as far as the Giants are concerned, Tom Coughlin mentioning the mistakes, and we've been talking about it. 2 turnovers, both led to San Diego touchdowns, and then a penalty on a missed field goal gave the Chargers a second opportunity as Rivers loses the football, and it is recovered by the Giants. Cullen Jenkins on the recovery, so some good news early in the second half for the Giants, who turned it over twice themselves in the first half.
Yeah, but maybe more concerned. Make sure Philip Rivers is okay on this. This ball just comes out of his hands.
Cullen Jenkins with the fumble recovery for the Giants. First and 10.
But it looked as though Philip Rivers injured himself during this process. Hopefully it was him just scrambling to get that football, and everything is all right.
Well, he does get hit here at the end when he goes and solidifies the tackle.
Second sack for Justin Tuck today. Jenkins the recovery as Andre Brown takes it to the 14-yard line.
There's a shot of Rivers coming in after the play. Right here. Watch him go down to go and solidify it, and then all of a sudden here comes John Beeson and sort of gives him a little bit of a shoulder to slow him down, but that's the only thing that I saw, Moose, and we'll keep an eye and see if he's all right. There he is getting checked out on the sideline.
Manning on second down. Pass over the top, and it is Andre Brown who gains 4 down to the 10.
Yeah, I'm over watching. They're working on Philip Rivers. Looked like he could have jammed his neck there when John Beeson hit him. That's what they're working on the sideline, as you can see right here.
Rivers, of course, so durable since replacing Breeze here in San Diego. This is 125th consecutive start, 4th all time. Eli Manning is 3rd at 148. As Brown is bottled up. Anti-tail on the tackle of Andre Brown.
Well, what a nice job by this San Diego defense right here, and it looks like 4-down territory for the Giants, so they're going to have to do it one more time, Tony. But this is one of those situational things in the game of football, sudden change, where, you know, you talked about everything that they want to do. John Pagano, the defensive coordinator, has his group ready, and they just jump out, and they're forcing a 4th down right here.
Yeah, well, you got the momentum. The Giants got to go for this. Down by 24. In my opinion, you got to ride this wave a little bit with a turnover, like you said, Moose.
2, he throws, and it is Victor Cruz who makes the catch for a Giants first down at the Chargers' 5-yard line.
Boy, both of these defenses not being able to stop the designated player that they selected during the course of the week. We've seen Antonio Gates and Danny Woodhead having big days. Now here comes Victor Cruz, and they know he's the guy. They know in this situation that's where Eli Manning is going to be looking, and they're able to execute and convert that 4th down.
Brandon Mosley in as an extra blocker for the Giants, number 67. Right side of the line. First and goal from the 5. Brown trying to cut it back inside. He broke free from the initial tackle attempt of Donald Butler and gains 2 down to the Chargers' 3-yard line.
Gain of 2. Second and goal from the 3.
One thing I'd like to see out of the Giants right here is stay physical. Don't go to the finesse. Try to run the ball a little bit. It's only second and goal.
Big change out of personnel right there, Tony, but more of a pass defense personnel change. See if they guessed right.
Peyton Hillis in the backfield takes the handoff. His first carry today. Hillis led the Giants in rushing on Sunday night in Washington, and he takes it down to the 1, so it will be 3rd and goal.
Peyton Hillis is a big body there in the backfield. I like this downhill kind of a runner that he is. You see him pushing the pocket. I mean, he got really close to that goal line. I wouldn't mind seeing him go and run the ball again.
Now the Giants again send in Mosley as an extra blocker. 2 tight ends. Hillis in the backfield with the fullback Connor. It is Hillis. Tries to go over the top. No signal yet. It's a touchdown. So the Giants capitalize following the San Diego turnover on their first play of the second half. And it is Peyton Hillis scoring his 2nd touchdown of the season.
San Diego defense does a nice job of stacking up the whole line of scrimmage right there. You see Hillis stopped right at the line of scrimmage. When his feet get back on the ground, they're off the ground right now. He just keeps going and driving. And finally gets in. Will Beatty also does a nice job of pushing him over the line of scrimmage. There it is.
All scoring plays are reviewed. Now the head linesman Jim Howie came running in with the signal. It has been confirmed upstairs. Josh Brown with the extra point. Exactly what Tom Coughlin hoped for to start the second half. Giants force a turnover, score a touchdown. Giants on the board. It is now 24-7 San Diego. A 7-play, 18-yard drive following the Rivers turnover. Sacked by Tuck, his 2nd today, recovered by Cullen Jenkins. Hillis with the Giants touchdown. No opportunity for Ronnie Brown. Philip Rivers puts his helmet on, heading back onto the field for the Chargers. Philip Rivers shaken up when he was sacked and fumbled the football on the last series. Back out on the field, 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line for the Chargers. Rivers hands it off to Matthews, and it is Tuck who wraps him up as Matthews is able to get back to the line of scrimmage. Well, Kansas City, Baltimore, Miami, and the Jets all won today. So Baltimore with 7 wins in that 2nd wild card spot. They have the tiebreaker on Miami. Chargers looking to get to 6-7. San Diego has missed the playoffs the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, and some late 4th quarter rallies by both of those teams that you mentioned. Baltimore, the Dolphins, you saw that crazy play at the end of the game by Pittsburgh.
Matthews gains 11 at Chargers first down. Giants still alive for the moment, but if the Giants lose this game, they would be eliminated with a victory by either the 49ers or the Arizona Cardinals, and both teams have leads in their games. San Francisco 16-14 over Seattle, Arizona 23-3 over St. Louis. Giants stay alive for the win, but if they lose, they would be eliminated. A win by San Fran or Arizona. Tough to come back from an 0-6 start, although the Giants have won 5 of their last 6 games. No 0-6 team has ever made the playoffs. One 0-4 team has. It was the Chargers back in '92.
Well, that's why, there's a saying, amongst players, you're not going to win a championship in the month of September, but you're going to lose one. And that's exactly what the Giants did. They put themselves in such a difficult position to dig out of that hole. You're in a must-win situation, from the second half of the season all the way through.
Matthews on 2nd and 5 picks up another Chargers first down out to the 46. Matthews gains 10. So the Chargers have kept it on the ground. Rivers has not thrown a pass since the sack. He's completed his last 8. 16 of 21 in the first half. It's Matthews again. And if it works, why not continue to hand off to Ryan Matthews?
Well, not just that, they're just up on the line of scrimmage. It's almost like they're in a 2-minute offense here. They're speeding up the pace a little bit. They're not really, something. I understand running the clock a little bit, but they're just coming up to the line of scrimmage and going really fast. I don't know if they want to try and tire this defense out a little bit with the big guys up front. But, they got something going.
Matthews out, Woodhead in. 3 wide receivers. 2nd down and 7. Hand off to Woodhead. Linville Joseph makes the tackle. Woodhead to the Giants 49.
You really have to compliment those guys up front, Tony. I mean, they've had 6 different offensive line combinations during the course of the season. We talked about it at the top. You want to start with your best 5 offensive linemen. They've been able to go back to that group that they started the season with today. So, this is a compliment to those guys up front, getting in a situation where your quarterback might carrying a little bit of an injury right now and leaning on that running game.
3rd down and 4. Clock jump.
That defensive line has been complaining about Nick Hardwick, the center, moving the ball.
Offside. Defense number 91, unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty that results in a first down.
And Tucker's going to be right here at the bottom, number 91, but he's looking in at the ball. They've been complaining the whole time. See the ball being moved by Hardwick. He keeps saying that he keeps moving it. And we're not getting a call from the officials, so I don't know if that was done intentionally to try and bring some attention to that.
Just squeezing that hand. It looks like Justin Tuxley, not really moving the ball, Tony, but just kind of squeezing it.
Yeah, a lot like what the long snappers do in the punt situation.
The question may be regarding the spot. Could be at the 43, not the 44. Following the discussion, ball stays at the 44-yard line. New set of downs for the Chargers. This is Woodhead. We will check in with Kurt Menefee. Kurt, what's going on with the Broncos and the Titans?
Well, the Broncos were down 21-10 at one point. And look at this. Knowshon Moreno's 1-yard touchdown run gives them a 13-point lead midway through the 3rd quarter, up 34-21 on Tennessee. Kenny Moose and Goose, where have we seen that before?
Well, we certainly have, Kurt, and this is not good news for the New York Giants.
No, he's one of the keys to that defense.
Antrell Roll off to the Giants sidelines. Giants have also lost safety Cooper Taylor to a hamstring injury. He will not return, so Ryan Mundy is in for Roll. 2nd down and 3. Rivers looked to throw for the first time here in the 2nd half. Amu Kamara on the coverage pass intended for Vincent Brown.
Vincent Brown is second receiver.
Yeah, and I don't know why right now. You've been very effective running the football. You try to make sure that Phillip Rivers is okay after getting hurt in that last possession. And you get a little hit on him right here at the end of this, on this throw.
Retro roll back on the field for the Giants. 3rd down and 3. Rivers moving to his right. And now he fires to the end zone. There is a flag. Brown, the intended receiver. Paysinger grabbed hold.
Well, I'm not going to ever say that there's a good flag out there, but if you're going to get a penalty, I mean, at least save a touchdown.
Kind of
Pass
a
interference. Defense number 54. Because the foul occurred in the end zone, the ball will be placed at the 1-yard line. 1st down.
You see, Spencer Paysinger was right over the center, and I think that he just recognizes that nobody's got Vincent Brown down the field. And you know what? That's a heck of just a jump ball situation by Philip Rivers. He sees it's one-on-one in the end zone. You kind of underthrow it, probably intentionally, to see if your wide receiver can work his way back to get that, and he gets the flag instead of the completion.
First and goal from the 1 as Roll comes up to make the tackle by Ryan Matthews. Second and goal upcoming for the Chargers.
John Beeson did a great job identifying that. Filling that hole really fast.
Yeah, Ryan Matthews is just about to roll in.
Here's Matthews. Looks to go over the top.
John Beeson once again. I mean, there's a wall right in front of him. He's 10 yards in front of me. There's a wall in front of him. He jumps up at the same exact time as Matthews, who just stops him right on the goal line. Take a look at this. Watch John come right over the backside, and boom, the collision right there. That stopped the touchdown.
On that first down play, that ball looked awfully close.
I agree, Kenny.
To crossing the plane.
I thought it broke the plane, and head linesman Jim Howie initially came in late with the touchdown signal and was waved off.
Well, now it is 3rd and goal, and this time Matthews walks it in for a Chargers touchdown.
Again, you really have to credit the offensive line on that drive, because after that previous series where Philip Rivers, when he fumbled the ball and tried to recover, you saw him working with him on the sideline, stretching that neck out. So how healthy was he going into that series? That offensive line did a nice job allowing them to feel very, very confident in running the football into the Giants defense.
An 11-play drive. He threw the ball only once. Novak, the extra point. 31-7. San Diego. Philip Rivers and the Chargers now lead the Giants 31-7, an 11-play, 80-yard drive, 10 runs, pass interference penalty in the end zone, and don't forget the offside call on Tuck on 3rd down. So 2 Giant penalties, major factors during that Chargers scoring drive.
That's been the case all afternoon. It's really, you know, the San Diego Chargers are playing well. They're very efficient this afternoon, but the New York Giants have contributed on numerous occasions to make things very difficult for themselves.
Exactly what Coach Coughlin talked about going into halftime. We're beating ourselves. Can't do that.
Cox from the goal line. And Cox tackled at the 13-yard line by Brock Bird. All San Diego. Giants at 5-7 will be eliminated from playoff contention with a loss here in San Diego and a win by San Francisco or Arizona. Both teams leading 49ers 16-14 over the Seahawks. Cardinals with a 23-3 lead over the Rams. Giants start from their 14-yard line. Manning over the middle looking for Nix, and again it is Manti Te'o on the coverage. He's played a strong game.
He really has. And I agree with Tony. He's really starting to progress, starting to understand his role on this team. You know, that's a third occasion today where Eli's just been a little bit off on his location. Two of those to Hakeem Nicks coming across the field.
But they're
putting
still
it on that back
catchable.
shoulder. Yeah, oh, no, they're catchable. But in that situation where you're trying to run away from somebody and it's on the back shoulder.
On 2nd and 10, this is Brown. Andre Brown out to the 19-yard line, a gain of 5, setting up 3rd down and 5. Never be without football. Get coverage of every NFL game on NFL Mobile. Call ** NFL to download now.
And this is a critical snap right here. They had three-play series in the first half, 2 3-and-outs, the one where they had 3 plays and an interception. One of the things that Tom Coughlin talked about is we've got to control the ball more. I mean, they only had 23 plays in that first half, the Giants offense.
Giants must get to the 24 as Manning steps up and throws, and the catch is made by Ruben Randall for a Giants first down at the 38-yard line. And there is an injured Charger, Richard Marshall.
Good job of extending this by Eli Manning. The pressure's coming free from his right side, recognizes it, steps up, eyes down the field, and finds Ruben Randall.
Marshall hit by his teammate Jaleel Adai, number 37. Well, Marshall, who's taken over as the starter for Derek Cox, sent to by the Chargers staff, with San Diego leading 31-7. And it has been fascinating, Darryl, this week to read the accounts from April of 2004 and the trade talks between the Giants and the Chargers. It all came together pretty quickly.
You know, and the strange thing is I always thought that this was one of those situations where the deal was in place beforehand, and learning about everything that happened that day, it wasn't. And, you know, we got to give Ernie Accorsi a lot of credit, because that was a draft with 3 very, very good quarterbacks, and they've all gone on and had very, very good NFL careers. And he wanted Eli Manning first. He had Roethlisberger as number 2 in that situation, and Phillip Rivers third. Phillip Rivers has been outstanding here in San Diego. Now, he's not gotten to the Super Bowl. He was in an AFC championship game, did not get his game to the championship team. Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs of the Super Bowls. Roethlisberger, 3 Super Bowls and 2 victories in his 3 appearances. So, you know, Ernie Accorsi, who really locked on to Eli Manning at that time and then crossed his fingers that that deal would produce itself with the San Diego Chargers. Some great foresight into the careers that those 3 quarterbacks would have.
Richard Marshall out, Johnny Patrick in, new set of downs for Eli Manning and the Giants from the 38-yard line. Manning with time, he throws, and the catch is made by Bear Pasco for Giants first down. And of course, he has said that the Giants had 2 cards ready. If the Chargers, their general manager A.J. Smith, did not call and offer up the deal, he was going to select Ben Roethlisberger at number 4. But once he heard from the Chargers and they put the trade together in a matter of minutes, Giants choose Rivers, and then they make the trade. A couple of draft picks come San Diego's way, and they use those picks for Nate Kading and Sean Merriman, a couple of players who had huge impacts here in San Diego. As Manning is sacked back at the 44-yard line by Kendall Reyes. His 4th sack of the season.
Just continue to push that pocket. Yeah. Kendall Reyes right here.
On David Deal. Rush to the outside, but then he comes and switches up back inside. It's exactly what you're supposed to do as a defensive lineman. Take the guy back, and as soon as you get even with the quarterback, come inside and force him out of the pocket. That time, Eli Manning just stays right there and gets the sack.
Reyes, a 2nd-round pick last year out of UConn, University of Connecticut. As Andre Brown finds a big hole, it's a first down for the Giants. As Brown, following the sack of Manning, gains 19 yards to the Chargers' 36.
Well, you've got over-pursued by the San Diego defense. Melvin Ingram right here. Let's see what happens. He gets washed down to the inside. You've got no contain. Eric Weddle came in and slips as well. So you see that running play going to that direction, but you still have to honor your responsibility, control your gap.
You mentioned Melvin Ingram, number 54. It's his first game of the season. First round pick a year ago. Coming back from the torn ACL. And it is Brown again. Brown, another Giants first down to the San Diego 13. Time for a game break. Kurt.
Well, the Tennessee Titans keep putting pressure on the Broncos. Here's Ryan Fitzpatrick hooking up with Justin Hunter. 41-yard score that made it 34-28. But the Broncos are marching and at the 2-yard line right now. Kenny, Moose Goose.
Thanks very much, Kurt. A couple of big runs by Andre Brown. Now Peyton Hillis, who has the Giants touchdown. Hillis gains 5. Down to the Chargers 13.
And defensive coordinator John Pagano for the San Diego Chargers wanted to see if his guys could play a complete game. And they were well on their way until this drive. One of the issues last week against Cincinnati, stopping that running game, and this drive right here by the New York Giants. Those situations in run defense kind of showing up again here.
John Pagano, 7 years younger than his older brother Chuck, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. It's John Pagano's 12th season with the Chargers, his second as coordinator. Second down and 5 from the shotgun. Manning with time, and the pass gets batted back and then alertly knocked down. Lawrence Guy got a hand on it.
Eli does a nice job right here. He's looking downfield. When he goes to throw, he sees the ball get batted right here. He goes, he just doesn't stand there. He goes up after it and knows to get it down so that the San Diego Chargers don't have an opportunity to go and get a pick right there.
Alert play by Manning. How about that? In the end zone. Yes, folks, that is meant to be Eli. Third down and 5. The real Eli Manning throws. There is a flag. End zone knocked down by Addae. Ruben Randall, the intended receiver. And it looks to be against the Chargers.
Jaleel Addae defending.
7. Illegal contact. Defense number 37. 5-yard penalty and a first down.
That's on Addae. Only the second Chargers penalty.
We'll keep our eyes on number 32, Eric Weddle.
First and goal from the 9.
And behind him, you've got Jaleel Addae. It looked like it was more Eric Weddle than it was Jaleel Addae, number 37.
So the Giants now with first and goal from the 9. Hillis in the backfield. Takes the handoff. And Hillis works his way down to the 5-yard line. Half minute remaining, third quarter here in San Diego, with the Chargers leading the Giants 31-7.
Doesn't matter who he's going to hit, right, Goose?
Yeah, Kevin Booth.
His own lineman.
I mean,
the other
Kevin
team.
Booth was like, what happened? Was there a freight train behind me? It's amazing, Hillis, when he goes and gets moving, boy. He doesn't care who's in front of him. He's going to make his own hole.
Giants do not have to run a play before the end of the quarter. And
no whistle.
Do not get the snap away. So through 3 here in San Diego. Chargers lead by 24. We'll return after these messages from your local Fox station. Chargers have played so many close games this season. 5 of their games decided by 4 points or fewer. Mike McCoy told us we need to play better over the first 3 quarters, take a double-digit lead, and that is what the Chargers have done today.
It's a heck of a plan and well executed by his team.
Chargers led 24-0 at the half. It is now 31-7. Second and goal for the Giants from the 5. Manning fires, end zone, and the catch is made for a touchdown. The tight end, Brandon Myers, a former Raider, with his 4th touchdown reception of the season.
It's a nice catch, but all the work is done getting to that point. Brandon Myers going up the field. Now he's got to beat the defender across the face into the middle of the field. And now here comes some more big collisions.
Does a nice job of holding on to it all the way down to the ground. They're still fighting for it down there, but he holds on.
So the Giants with touchdowns on back-to-back possessions. Josh Brown, the extra point. First play of the fourth quarter. It is now a 17-point game. Well, we have heard reports about snow back east. We have seen the highlights, but a beautiful Sunday here in San Diego.
Just some nice surf. Don't have those snowy pictures. Just some surf for the viewers at home.
Goose keeping warm down on the field. Giants with an 86-yard drive, 11 plays. Andre Brown, 43 yards on the ground. Brandon Myers with the touchdown.
Richard Marshall, real quick, Kenny, number 31. He went into the locker room with, they're checking on the head injury, questionable comeback.
All right, thanks, Goose. Ronnie Brown back deep for the Chargers. And Brown is tackled at the 16-yard line by Michael Cox. Well, tonight at 11 Eastern, it's Fox Sports Live. Jay and Dan will have all the highlights and reaction from Week 14 of the NFL. Who will play in the BCS National Title game, and who's on the outside looking in. And Kobe returns for the Lakers. That's all tonight on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, I'm going up to L.A. tomorrow, Kenny. Gonna do a little Fox Sports 1 myself, get on TV. A nice outfit picked out. If you guys have some time, check it out.
We look forward to it. Goose headed north following the Giants and the Chargers. First and 10, 16-yard line. Ryan Matthews, gain of 4. Well, it will be a short week for the Chargers as they will travel to Denver for a Thursday night game. Chargers will conclude the regular season with 3 divisional games. At Denver this Thursday night, and then home for Oakland, home for Kansas City.
And taking a look at what Tennessee is doing there offensively, you know that Mike McCoy, Ken Wisenhunt, Frank Reich sitting down along with Phillip Rivers. You know, how did they put up 28 against them today?
Broncos leading 37-28. Chargers will face another Manning in 4 days. Here's Matthews. Matthews tackled by Prince Amukamara. Chargers 1-2 within their division. They have more wins against the NFC East so far than against their own division.
East has been criticized all season long. It ended up being the AFC West that became a very, very competitive division. And Mike McCoy and his group almost a clean sweep, if not for that goal line stand by the Redskins to force the field goal and then the win in overtime. They'd be looking at a clean sweep of the NFC East today.
Chargers have beaten the Eagles, they've beaten the Cowboys, and now leading the Giants by 17. Penalty markers.
Replay for Rivers right here.
And Rivers fires downfield. It is deflected and caught by Woodhead. What a catch!
I think all the people that were standing right there next to Danny Woodhead were just as amazed as we were watching on TV. He goes up, he tips it. I can't believe he came down with this ball.
Well, J-Rod Hosley's going to have some fun stories to tell. How did you not get an interception? I got out jumped by Danny Woodhead. Number 39, the guy who everybody says is not real tall. Yeah, he got me on the 3rd tip.
Look at that right there. That's a vertical. Look at that, the hand on the hip and everything. Well, he's got the whole pose down, Darryl.
That was very stylish.
Nice.
39-yard pass play. So Woodhead out of a Division II school, Chadron State in Nebraska. He was not invited to the combine. Broke in with the Jets. Had success with the Patriots. And now out here in San Diego, having an outstanding season with the Chargers.
Well, here's the view I was talking about right here, Darryl.
Well, the confidence in Phillip Rivers, you know, I mean, seriously, though, it's a jump ball situation, and you got Danny Woodhead out there. I mean, yeah, that's the competitive nature of that guy. And then, as you pointed out, that's a nice little first down signal right there.
Oh, my God, the guys on the sideline, their faces, they can't believe it. Look at the guy right behind him. He's like shaking his head going, are you kidding me? What happened there? We can't catch a break.
Second down and 8. Rivers over the top. It's Matthews. And Ryan Matthews has a Chargers first down.
First down, Chargers.
1-2 punch of Matthews and Woodhead.
There's a lot, and just think, we've talked about no Malcolm Floyd, no Denario Alexander. I mean, this, and as well as Philip Rivers has orchestrated this offense in the first year with all the changes, and yet the numbers that he's putting up, this is going to be fun for Charger fans next season.
Rivers 18 of 24 today, 75%. Penalty marker as Matthews is down at the 27-yard line.
One of the reasons why they have that high completion percentage, Kenny, they have the fewest drops in the NFL.
Offside. Offense number 85 lined up in the neutral zone.
And when you have...
It's a 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
When you have a group of skill players on the outside who don't drop the ball, then you have the confidence to make a throw like he made to Danny Woodhead on that on a play a couple plays ago. And then we saw the one down in the end zone where they got the pass interference call.
And you have a coordinator in Ken Wisenhunt who called plays for the Steelers. Their Super Bowl win.
Frank Reich
over Seattle. Frank Reich, quarterback coach. Mike McCoy, who's worked with some great quarterbacks through the years, including Peyton Manning last year, Jake Delhomme in Carolina. When they got to a Super Bowl, Chargers took too much time.
Game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
McCoy in Carolina for 9 years. And then in Denver the last 4 seasons. Won a playoff game with Tim Tebow. Went to the playoffs with Peyton Manning last year.
But one of the guys that we have to talk about on this staff is the offensive line coach, Joe D'Alessandris, and what he's done. We talked about 6 different starting offensive line combinations, and we had that series here early in the second half where you had Philip Rivers, who got hit and had the issue with the neck, and they just ran the ball right down the field against the Giants.
Now they set up the screen on 1st and 20, and Matthews takes it down to the 26-yard line. Finally tackled after a gain of 12 by John Beeson. Time for a game break with Joel.
Kenny, let's go back to Denver. Remember that old adage that Peyton Manning can't play in the cold? How about that throw? Peyton Manning, 36 of 54 today, 373 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Denver is up 44-28. Kenny, Moose, and Goose.
So the Broncos have put up 44. Chiefs scored 45 today. Bengals 42. Chargers with 31. And on the move here in San Diego. Rivers for the near side. It's Brown. And Vincent Brown picks up the Chargers first down, a gain of 12, and there is a flag. Back at the 38-yard line.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness after the play was over. Defense number 94. After distance to the goal. First down.
That's on Matthias Kiwanuka. Sixth Giant penalty, and a number of them have come at key times.
They really have. They have made critical mistakes all throughout this afternoon. And Tom Coughlin, it's got to be so frustrating for him. You've gotten your team kind of turned around from that 0-6, 5 out of the last 6 games. You win, you're playing well, doing some positive things, and then you come out and you have a game like this where you kind of revert exactly back to how you played that first 6 games of the season.
First and goal from the 7. Rivers to Eddie Royal, and the tackle by Antrell Roll. No gain on the play. Under 9 minutes remaining, 4th quarter. Giants lost, and they would be eliminated from playoff contention with a win by either San Francisco or Arizona. Both teams leading in the 4th quarter of their games. Giants will host Seattle next week. Travel to Detroit, finish up home against Washington. Second and goal from the 7. Matthews gains 3 down to the Giants 4-yard line.
And when we have an opportunity to sit down and talk to both of these teams getting ready to do the game, you know, there's certain things that they point out, and boy, I tell you, Tom Coughlin could not have been more correct on the things that he was concerned about. And, you know, the Giant offense needed to do a better job of controlling the ball. Well, they haven't been able to do that, and it's been compounded because San Diego has done such a masterful job this afternoon with their drives and their time of possession. The Giants have had very little opportunities to do anything offensively, and when they had, they continued to shoot themselves in the foot.
This is the Chargers' 4th drive of at least 10 plays. Low snap. Rivers looking end zone, and then he throws it away in the vicinity of Danny Woodhead.
And this is the second one we've had this game. You see Philip Rivers, he's trying to get Nick Hardwick's attention because, you know, down in this situation, this play goes awry right away with that bad snap. And that's the competitive nature of Philip Rivers right there. You know, even in this situation, what the score is at 31-14 right now, he wants his team to execute at a high level.
Nick Novak, 22-yard attempt. He hit from 36 earlier when he was given a second chance following a Giants penalty. More flags. False start, San Diego.
False start. Offense number 92. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 4th down.
Special teams coach Kevin Spencer, a New York native. Credulous look on his face. Penalty was assessed to Cam Thomas. So now a 27-yard attempt for Novak. And Novak connects, extending the Chargers' lead, thanks in large part to this catch by Danny Woodhead. Philip Rivers checking out the photos, chatting with Ken Wisenhunt. 11-play, 75-yard drive. Novak with the 27-yard field goal. Frank Reich, part of the greatest comebacks in the history of both college football and the NFL. Frank, the quarterback coach here in San Diego. Michael Cox on the return. Out to the 17. Well, 27 remaining. Here are the 4th. We'll be back. San Diego Chargers, 7.5 minutes away from their 6th win of the season. Justin Tuck with 2 sacks today, but his Giants trail by 20. Eli Manning has heard the boos from this crowd in San Diego throughout the game. He has never beaten the Chargers. 2 previous opportunities. This play is blown dead. It's a false start. Giants.
False start. Offense number 65. 5-yard penalty. Remains 1st down.
Up tackle, Will Beatty.
You get a little bit of pressure coming that way. You have to realize your tight end's going to give you a little bit of help there. Melvin Ingram gets collapsed down inside. You got to trust your teammate.
1st and 15 following the penalty. Manning throws, and the catch is made by Myers at the 20. He gets upended by Johnny Patrick. Gain of 8. San Francisco and Arizona both winning their games. late fourth quarter. Manning's pass deflected and then caught by Hakeem Nicks. Nicks out to the 48-yard line.
Good concentration by Hakeem Nicks on this. An opportunity for the interception by Sharice Wright.
Nicks had a 51-yard reception in the first half, a 43-yarder prior to halftime. And now a diving interception. Giants turn her over for the third time. It's Donald Butler's second pick today.
Right place at the right time. Donald Butler right here.
The Butler does it again. The last play is under review. What appeared to be an interception by Donald Butler. All turnovers are reviewed, and it looks like the ball came out.
Yeah, they're going to have to turn this one over,
the ground.
I think.
There it is. Giants offense has come back out onto the field, as well as the Chargers defense.
He doesn't keep control of that ball. The ball hits the ground right there, you can see.
Yeah, but more important than that, here's one of those situations we've talked about during the course of the year. Again, Eli Manning kind of out of sync a little bit with his receiver group, and it was kind of a lackadaisical pass into an area, but it appears that Eli was expecting Victor Cruz to break back into the middle of the field as opposed to sit down.
Tom Coughlin awaiting the official word from Ron Winter, but it certainly appears like the call on the field will be reversed.
After review, the defender did not maintain control of the ball throughout the process of making the interception. Therefore, it is an incomplete pass. The ball will be placed on the 48-yard line. Second down. Please reset the game clock to 6:35.
Tom Coughlin says, our ball. Tom, the oldest head coach in the NFL, 67 years of age. Mike McCoy at 41 is the second youngest. Only Dennis Allen of Oakland is younger. When McCoy was born in 1972, Coughlin was entering his third season as head coach at the Rochester Institute of Technology. He was already a head coach.
You leave me speechless from time to time, Kenny.
Where is that? Is that school still available? Or?
Hey, my little brother went to the Rochester Institute of Technology.
There you go. On 2nd and 10, Richard Marshall back on the field. He makes the play. 3rd and 10 upcoming.
It's one of those academic institutions, Goose, that you and I wouldn't have been able to get into.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think those kind of schools had football teams, technical institutes, engineering and stuff like that, right?
Hey,
your brother an engineer? What's your brother do?
He's a photographer.
Oh, there you go.
Coughlin started his head coaching career at RIT in 1970. Before moving on to Syracuse. 3rd down and 10. Manning to the outside. It's Nicks. Marshall comes up to make the tackle well shy of the marker.
Well, one positive today, Hakeem Nicks has had a nice afternoon. 43, a 51, and a 28-yard reception during the course of the game today. Really nice concentration on the one here on this drive.
Nicks has still not scored a touchdown all season.
That's unbelievable.
4th down and 5. Giants must get to the 42, and they will not, as Manning is sacked. Corey Legion along with Thomas Kaiser.
And this has really been one of the big issues for this offense all season long. Good coverage at the top. You see the underneath coverage will go to the opposite side of the field with Ruben Randall. They've got Victor Cruz doubled, so nowhere to go for Eli Manning. But the inability to protect him in the pocket has been one of the big reasons. He goes from being one of the better protected quarterbacks last season to this year, probably one of their biggest struggles offensively during the course of the season.
Yeah, he's had to deal with pressure all day and all year, really.
Here's Charlie Whitehurst replacing Philip Rivers with under 6 minutes remaining. From the 42, he hands it off to Ryan Matthews.
And Philip Rivers has had another nice afternoon, has just had a really good season for the San Diego Chargers. Keenan Allen, his young receiver, on the outside for 2 touchdowns. But this new offense that they put in place, you know, where you focus on completion percentage, getting that ball out quickly, he's getting it to a number of different receivers throughout the formation. His completion percentage, you look at that, 21 out of 28. And that's outstanding. That's following this game plan and this offensive philosophy to a T.
Came into the game at 70%, 75% today for Rivers. And Whitehurst hands it off to Matthews. Charlie Whitehurst, 4 career starts with Seattle, including his first career start, which came against these Giants, a 41-7 Giants victory. Spent his first 4 years here in San Diego, then moved north to Seattle for 2, and now his second season back in San Diego. He was born in Green Bay. His father, David, was a Packers quarterback at the time, also played for the Kansas City Chiefs. So Whitehurst in for Rivers. 4.5 remaining. 3rd down and 1. Inside handoff. It is the fullback McClain, and the Chargers look to have a first down. They do. TJ Fluker, the rookie right tackle for San Diego, limping off the field. First round pick out of Alabama. Replaced by former Redskin and Raider Willie Smith. Fluker has been bothered by an ankle problem as of late. Here's Matthews, who has 95 yards on the ground today. And a timeout is taken by the Giants. So another December victory for Philip Rivers today. All time second behind only Tom Brady during the month of December. Wyatt Tittle, of course, former Giant, 3rd on the list. Joe Montana and Eli's older brother.
Nice company right there as a quarterback. And you know, everybody says you want to be playing your best football at this time of the year, and when your quarterback has played that well throughout your career, it's going to give you an opportunity for some good seasons.
The 2-time Super Bowl most valuable player on the other side.
Yeah, but that says it all right there. It's been that type of season for the New York Giants. It's so difficult to dig yourself out, and you know, you got to compliment them. And I really feel that Antrel Rolle was a big part of that. You know, you're sitting there at 0-6, and you know, it's starting at 0-4, trying to just get the team to refocus and to hang in there. And you know, they showed a lot of heart this season with a season that got off the rails very quickly and never really quite turned around. And you know, the leadership of Justin Tuck, Antrel Rolle, you know, the addition of John Beeson coming in. You know, Tom Coughlin has to be proud of his guys, the way they hung in there this year and competed.
Three and a half remaining here in San Diego. Kenny Albert, Darryl Johnston, Tony Siragusa. Chargers led 24-0 at the half. It's now 34-14 as Matthews goes over the 100-yard mark for the day. Giants will use their final timeout. So a solid effort all around by this Chargers offense. Keenan Allen with a couple of touchdowns. Big day for Phillip Rivers completing 75% of his pass attempts, and Ryan Matthews over 100 yards on the ground.
Yeah, Danny Woodhead, you know, the ability as a runner, as a receiver out of the backfield, leads the NFL with catches from the running back position. So a lot of pieces in place right here. Had some key injuries on the defensive side of the ball for the San Diego Chargers. So, but I really feel, we touched on this earlier, this will be a season where they look back at some of the games early on that they let slip through their fingers and could have been in a better position with a little bit more control over their playoff destiny. The Giants taking a big hit right now, losing here. San Francisco and Arizona both winning their games, so they could find themselves eliminated this afternoon. San Diego, some crazy finishes with Baltimore and Miami hurt their playoff picture as right before we came on the air today.
Novak from 43 yards out. Novak now 3 for 3. The Chargers have scored on 7 of their 9 possessions today. Chargers lead by 23 as they keep their playoff hopes alive. Earlier today, heavy snow in Philadelphia. It was 8-0 at the half. And the Eagles win at 34-20.
Yeah, LaShawn McCoy over 200 yards rushing in those conditions.
Packers in come-from-behind fashion defeat the Falcons. And how about this play late in Baltimore? There were 4 touchdowns scored late in the fourth quarter, and the Ravens go to 7 wins. Miami Dolphins with a come-from-behind victory over Pittsburgh. They have 7 wins, and the Chargers with a victory today will go to 6 wins as the AFC wildcard race intensifies with 3 weeks remaining in the regular season. Kickoff taken at the 5-yard line by Cox. And Cox tackled at the 22 by Brock Bird. Well, Fox UFC Saturday returns this week. Demetrius Johnson defends his World Flyweight Championship against Joseph Benavidez. Live on Fox. Coverage begins Saturday, 8 Eastern, only on Fox. Eli Manning back out onto the field with the Giants trailing by 23. On the 22-yard line on first down. Manning complete to Nix. Nix out to the 30-yard line, gain of 8. His 5th catch for 135 yards, but the Giants know that with a loss, they would be eliminated with a 49ers or Cardinals win, and Arizona leads St. Louis 30-10 with under 2 minutes remaining. Manning on the check down, could not make the connection to Andre Brown. 3rd down and 2 for the Giants.
I think one of the more surprising things this week, Kenny, is, you know, you forget that the Giants have missed the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years. I think because of their success when they've gotten to the Super Bowl in those late season runs, that you expected them to be more consistent in the latter part of Tom Coughlin's tenure. You know, they were early on there once they got this thing turned around and moving in the right direction. But again, another year where the Giants are going to miss the playoffs.
Here's Brown, picks up the first. It's Tom Coughlin's 10th season. He has 8 playoff wins, all 8 coming during their 2 Super Bowl runs.
Yeah, in seasons where, you know, I mean, coming into today, you know, they're 5-7. You know, one of those Super Bowl victory seasons started at 6-6 late in the season. So, you know, it was a question of them getting hot at the right time, and we've seen that a number of times here over the last couple of years. And, you know, we look at Denver and what they're doing this year. We look at Seattle, and you wonder, are they going to be able to sustain that through the playoffs? Or are we going to have a team like the Giants, like what the Packers did when they won their Super Bowl? Baltimore last year, the way they got hot at the right time of year and pressed some of those elite teams that had played well all season long.
There is a penalty flag as Brown takes it up to the 46.
Holding. Defense number 91. 5-yard penalty and a 1st down.
on Kendall Reyes. And there will be many questions heading into the offseason. You mentioned Justin Tuck's contractual status. Hakeem Nicks got a contract following this season.
And you signed Victor Cruz to a big contract coming into this season. So, you know, I think the production you've seen from Ruben Randall, that's a lot of money to commit to one position. You've already got a big cap number with Eli Manning. So it's going to be a tough decision for the New York Giants and the future of Justin Tuck.
Big day for the San Diego Chargers as we hit the 2-minute warning. Our game summary in San Diego. 2 Giants turnovers leading to a pair of San Diego Chargers touchdowns. Phillip Rivers, 3 touchdown passes, 5th time this season, including a pair to Keenan Allen, and a big day for the Chargers defense, forcing 2 turnovers and 2 sacks of Eli Manning. Two minutes remaining, 4th quarter. Manning picked off again. Pass was intended for Louis Murphy, and it is taken down the sideline by Sharice Wright. His first interception of the season. It is the 3rd Giants turnover.
Well, you know, you expend so much energy digging yourself out of an 0-6 start, and you get to 5-7, and this has just been a game that looks very, very familiar to that 0-6 start. And, I mean, Sharice Wright plays it perfect. I don't know if there's that miscommunication that we've heard about from time to time, but an ill-advised throw by Eli Manning in that situation. And Sharice Wright has run the route better than Louis Murphy Jr.
Yeah, just trying to force something right in, and that's exactly what happens in that situation.
You're right, Darryl. What we saw during the 0-6 start is what took place for the Giants today here in San Diego. Interceptions, penalties, mistakes throughout. The OT coming up next. The Arizona Chargers have won, so the Giants will be eliminated from playoff contention.
You redistricting here with the Arizona Chargers? What are you creating your own league here or something?
Did I say the Arizona Chargers?
Yes, you did.
Did he? Make sure we get a tape of that, Darryl, please.
That could be the one. That could be the one, because Kenny never makes a mistake.
Ever.
Looking at the Chargers offense on the field. Thinking about the Cardinals.
Hey, we're teammates. We're supposed to help each other out when we get in those situations.
Ken Wisenhunt was a Cardinal, now a Charger, right?
Don't justify. It's just roll with it. It's all right.
6 degrees of separation. Tell him, Kenny.
Definitely not justifying. So the Chargers here in San Diego with a 23-point lead. Under a minute remaining, and a great job by our entire crew, led by producer Barry Landis, director Brian Lilly, associate director Eric Mandia, broadcast associate Paul Marlborough, technical producer Sid Drexler, technical director Chris Castro, pregame show produced by Bill Richards, directed by Stephanie Medina. Thanks to our statistician in the booth, Dave Corris, spotter Ben Boma. So the Chargers win it as we head to San Francisco. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, 49ers and Seahawks.